can't like compare myself to others.
Yeah.
It's the number one rule of anything in life, actually. But like, especially in the authoring, you can't compare yourself with others because you don't know what's behind the scenes. You don't know how they do it, how stressed they are, how hard it is for them. You just never know. You just see the final product, the books. You don't see what goes into those books.
Welcome to Raising Baby Authors. I'm Kasia, your host and a brand new writer. If you feel overwhelmed and lost about this whole writing thing, you're certainly not alone. Join me while I pester my author guests for writing advice and find out how they do it. Because if they could, then why not you? It truly takes a village to raise an author, so let me share my village with you. Hello, dear listener, and welcome back to the classroom. Thank you so much for giving me your time and attention. And let's meet today's mentor. It's author K.H. Anastasia. Hi, Kiira.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me. It's
Uh,
actually funny because like when I started writing back in 2021, so 3 years ago, I was thinking like it's one of my goals to be in podcast talking about how I write and why I write. So it's good to be here today.
Oh, I'm so happy I can be
Yeah,
someone's goal.
yeah. This is
Check.
like checked.
Yes, that's amazing. And yeah, I like asking authors what is their definition of what would be a goal or a meaning of success for you. So that's also for me one of the things that I would like to do as well. Can you introduce yourself for the listeners, please?
Yeah. So my name is Kiira, but I'm also known as KH Anastasia. And I'm an indie romance author from Helsinki, Finland. And I live here with my husband of 1 week. We got married a week ago. When I'm not listening or reading romance or writing romance, I work in the technology field. I'm actually graduating as an engineer next month. I have done my studies next to my work, so I have been working in many technology projects in the past years. So it's not like I'm starting with my first job related to my studies, but I'm just continuing. Right now, I'm actually between assignments. I'm a consultant, so I'm between assignments and waiting for my next job. So now I have time to enjoy the newly married life and think about my next story.
Oh, that's amazing. So many things. You just had a wedding and then you're graduating soon. Like, congratulations.
Been Thank you, thank you. It has been. I don't want to use the word crazy, but I think that describes my year. It has been a very tough year mentally, and so much happening, and yeah. But we are here, and I feel better than I have in months, so it's good.
Yeah, I can understand. A lot of people think that you get you get overwhelmed and have some like mental problems when something bad happens. But even when a lot of good things happen, even
Exactly, that's the issue that I have been dealing with. I started my dream job in January, and I was still finishing my thesis and my studies, and I was thinking about my next book, my wedding, everything. It just felt too much.
yes.
And I do want to talk about it right away, but I'm recovering from a burnout, a pretty recent burnout. I was diagnosed in June, so it has been 3 months soon. And yeah, it has been tough, but I think the last 3 months have been very good for me. And I'm finally in a headspace where I can think about writing again because I have been writing much this year. And that's why it's good to be on this podcast right now, because I'm in that headspace where I'm ready to finish my next story, basically, and go back to it and work on it.
Oh, that's amazing. And I don't think everybody talks about that, but you are not the first writer on my podcast who had a burnout.
Imagine because to many, this is a like hobby. Not well, I don't like to use the word hobby because it makes it seem not that important, but like side gig, like
Yes.
something we do outside our like 9 to 5 jobs and such. And many of us have kids. I don't, but like many have kids or pets or other things that keep them busy. And on top of that, they write. So
Yeah.
it's kind of mind blowing, or like how people do it, how they write when it's not their full time job.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I've ever experienced burnout, or maybe I just don't know about it. But when you're writing, you feel like you're doing something you're so passionate about, and you just don't feel that bad about it, even if you're so tired.
Yes, exactly. Last year, I published 3 books,
Wow.
2 full length novels and 1 novella. And it took my energy. I have to say, it was part of the reason why I experienced burnout. It just built up. And once I published my latest last December, about a year ago, I published my latest. After that, I just couldn't write. I was so tired, and it was hard. And then it continued, and then I started the new job and everything. And yeah, it just built up. And
Yeah, yeah. And especially I think when they tell you as an indie author, you kind of have to release a lot and like
yeah,
build up a backlist and you just feel like you have to do it soon.
yeah, the thing is that what many don't realize, that these authors that release 4, 5, 6 books a year, it's their full-time job. They don't do anything else for their job. So they have that 8 hours a day to work on their books, their marketing, their everything related to indie author life. That's something I had to like come in terms with, that I don't have that time. I can't get 6 books out a year. I just can't, because I want to keep working and I just don't have that time.
Exactly. And it's the same situation. Either you have it as a full-time job or you pay a lot of money for the edits to do it quickly, or you sacrifice quality. You cannot have everything. You cannot have good quality and have it cheap. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think these who do indie authoring full time, they have it down to like, they have done it so long that they can get good stuff out faster, and it's just easier for them.
Yeah, it's a
So
skill. It's a
it's
skill.
one thing that I have learned, or tried to learn. I'm still like almost there, that I can't like compare myself to others.
Yeah.
It's the number one rule of anything in life, actually. But like, especially in indie authoring, you can't compare yourself with others, because you don't know what's behind the scenes. You don't know how they do it, how stressed they are, how hard it is for them. You just never know. You just see the final product, the books. You don't see what goes into those books.
Exactly. And you don't know how they started. Like this is already their 10th, 20th book and you don't know how they started.
Like some of my favorite authors, they have like 40 or 50 books out. So they have been doing this for like past 10 years. So I just can't compare myself to them. Like, it's just so different.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm still struggling with that, but I'm trying. Yeah, trying not to think about that.
It's hard because when you start writing, you are usually inspired by authors you see a lot on social media. You see lots of readers talk about them. So you expect that you get it, but it's not that easy. It's actually always more like a small group of authors that are actually those that hit it big, or get like make lots of money and get lots of readers and lots of reviews and everything in just big amounts.
Yeah, that's true. Well, since we've mentioned how they started, let's go back and I want to know how you started writing.
Yes, so I always love listening to people or authors or writers who say, "Oh, I have been writing since I was a little kid. I have always loved that." That's not me.
Oh, no,
That's
not me either. No.
yeah, no. Um, to understand why I became an indie author, we have to go back in time to January 2020. So 4.5 years ago. So I had just lost my grandma. I was jobless, and I had just started my engineering studies next to work, but I was like looking for a new job. And it was very heavy. I needed something to get my mind off the studies because it was so hard and took so much of my brain power or energy. And I just started thinking, like, what can I do with my time? I needed a hobby. And I saw this ad for audiobooks. I had tried audiobooks before, but I never liked them. But I saw an audiobook app ad, and I started listening to audiobooks. I started with fiction, like general fiction, and some nonfiction. And then a few months in, I found my first romance audiobook. And I actually have a paperback copy.
Oh, the Fletcher.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Fletcher, yeah, Beth O'Leary's. This book literally changed my life in a way because after I listened to it, I started like craving for that romance. And I started listening to more and more. I made it my part of my personality that I was a romance reader or listener. And then a year and a half later, my friend told me on Instagram, like, hey, there's this thing called NaNoWriMo, so National Novel Writing Month. I no longer participate in that, but like back then I did. It's a big part of how I became an author, so that's why I'm mentioning it. So she was like, yeah, the idea is to write 50,000 words in 1 month. And I have this idea that I want to do. And I was like, well, funny you mentioned because I have these dreams of this random guy and his two best friends. And I don't know what to do with it. Like they just came to me like in my dreams. And I was like, what if I write those down? Those like things I know about them, how they look in my dreams or how I see them. What if I write them down and try to start writing a story for one of them at least? And yeah, that random guy became my first ever character, Eli. So the
Wow.
guy of my debut novel. Yeah, that was how I started. So just during NaNoWriMo, writing my thoughts down. And my first ever draft, so my first draft for my debut novel, it was so bad. I have it saved and I have read it a few times and I'm like, oh my God, what did I think? It's funny because I knew what a beta reader is, but I didn't think I had money for an editor. So I asked this one bookstagrammer at time. Now she is my author bestie. So Anna writes here on Instagram. Anna, I asked her to be my beta reader, and after a while, she was like, "Can we have an honest conversation?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she was like, "You need more than a beta reader." And I was like, "Yeah, I think I agree." And then she was like, "Well, I'm not doing this for other authors, but I'm a like freelancer writer in my like civil life or outside book world. So what if I'm your editor?" And that's how it began. Like she has edited all my 4 books that I have published so far, and she's my like author bestie. We talk daily. We send voice notes. We know about each other's books way before it's public knowledge. Anna and a few other author friends are the reason why I kept going because it's hard to be an indie author. It's hard. It feels lonely at times and such. So I'm happy I have those. But yeah, that's basically how it started. So first romance reader a bit, then I saw the dreams. Then I thought, why not write? And I started writing in September 2021, or like writing down notes in October 21 more. And then it was only 7 months later when my debut came out. So yeah.
All right. So it took you 7 months from sort of like starting until the publishing.
I wrote my first draft in 2.5 months.
Wow.
Then edits took a few months.
Honestly, 2.5 months is super fast for me. It took me a year.
It is. It's definitely not something I see myself do with all my books. Actually, my second book, the one that came after it, it actually took me way longer, and I had to rewrite half of it. And I postponed the release by 6 months or 8 months actually. Yeah, 8 months, more than half a year, and it was a mess. When I tried to just hit the target. So once I told myself, okay, listen, listen, I know you want this book out, but it's trash. You have to edit it more. You have to give it time. So what if you just postpone the release? And I did, and it's actually my most liked book, my second book.
What's its
So
title so that people
all
might
your
look it up?
memories, yeah, all your memories. I think it shows that I took the time and I put so much into it.
All right. Well, I have at least two questions about that. First of all, you have recurring dreams. I am so like I can never see as the same dream twice. That's not possible to me.
So I don't know if it's my ADHD brain or something, but I have always had very vivid dreams. And often, I remember when I was younger, I often saw a dream of this little girl, like for a year or two. She came back to my dreams once or twice a week, and I saw how she like lived, and I sometimes play with her in my dreams. It was so weird. But yeah, anyway, now that I'm older, it's different. I I think 80% of my book ideas come to me in my dreams. I see, like when I first started seeing dreams of my first character Eli, I didn't see his face. I just saw this like I'm not saying aura or anything, but I just saw or felt his presence and felt how he made his two best friends feel, and it's actually mind blowing when I think about it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then actually, like I remember I was watching a movie and I was like, oh, that's my Eli, like the actor. I was like, yeah, that's exactly how Eli looks. I hadn't seen him in my dreams, like his face before that. But after I saw the movie, I was like, yeah, that's Eli. And after that, I started seeing Eli as the actor in my dreams.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, it's just to me. This has not been my experience. I cannot see recurrent dreams, and they're not that vivid, and it's good because all I see is nightmares. Usually, it's not good.
That's why I don't watch horror movies, because nightmare for a week or two.
Yeah, I have nightmares just out of nowhere, and usually they're the things that I'm afraid the most. So I'm like, I don't need more dreams. Thank you. I'm good. All right. So when we come back to like your first book and your first draft, for I think for me for sure, but probably also for a lot of writers who are just starting out, it's very scary to actually share your first draft with somebody, and especially with another author who's already done this and probably knows how to write well. And so, what actually gave you like the courage to share your writing with someone?
I I'm very open for feedback and such on this author journey. It's actually weird because I'm usually not that good with not negative, but like, yeah, critique.
Criticism, yeah.
Yeah. But since I started working at Anna, I just took that attitude that, okay, I need to get the feedback because, of course, if I write for myself only, it makes sense that I write exactly what I want. But sometimes things I say or write, I mean, they just they aren't good. It's just you have to open yourself up for it. and it's good practice for the time when you actually publish the book and your readers start to leave you reviews. I know most authors, they don't read their reviews, but I do. I have read every single review
All right.
that I have, and it has actually impacted some things, but it has also helped me a lot because, like, some of the feedback I got from my first book, it helped me better my second book, and so on. And yeah,
I think you need to just learn how to discern the feedback that helps from the feedback that just hurts you.
yeah, because I think Anna has been so amazing. Like I can tell how amazing because I think we just have that connection or that thing between us that she knows how to comment on my drafts. She knows how to say things and she knows how to give that feedback. She's very good at giving constructive feedback. And I just got lucky, I guess, because I know some authors, they struggle with finding the right editor and such. But I always look forward to it. I look forward to seeing my manuscript with almost sometimes one page is almost all red, like, oh, Kiira, fix this, fix this. I look forward to it. It's one of my favorite parts of the process, working with Anna and getting her feedback because I trust her opinion so much, or I value it. She just released her sixth book, which is amazing, and our first books, they came out the same month, so we have been on this journey together from the start.
So you started together. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, she had been writing longer. If you read her books, you can tell her way with words, it just blows my mind. She is my favorite authors, or one of them, and it's not because we are friends or very close friends. It's just because she knows how to write.
In that case, actually, I do have a question from also another author that you might know. She told me you're one of her favorite authors and she cannot wait to listen. Her name is Valentina Burns, and she was asking, what's your writing process? Are you a plotter or a pantser?
I'm definitely a plotter. And it surprises many people because I'm very, like I mentioned earlier, I have ADHD. So I have, my thoughts, they run wild in normal life. It's a mess in my head. But I have always had this thing where I planned big events ahead, and it kind of translated to when I started planning my books, that I plot them. So what I do is that whenever I start a new book idea or get a new idea, I open a new document and I start writing down scenes that I want to write. And then I organize those scenes and I follow the romance in the beat sheet that many romance authors follow. And it has helped me because I have a blank template with the beats on it. So I just start to add those scenes to different beats and think how they fit in the book. And then I start from the beginning, and then I write notes on every scene, not chapter. So scene. I used to have 2 scenes per chapter. Sometimes one scene is one chapter. It depends, but usually 2 scenes a chapter. And I just start writing notes. And this helps me a lot because I don't write my stories in order. I might start a day writing the first chapter, but then I'm like, oh, I got an idea for chapter 15, let's say. So I go there and write that. So I jump between chapters when writing. That's what I do a lot. I still haven't written a book that I have written in order. So I always go and jump between chapters, and having those plot notes or those notes really helps because I don't have that many plot holes in the end, and it's much easier to edit. And yeah, that's how I start. So I have the plot outline and the document. And then a big part to me about like writing process is music. I need to listen to music in the background when I'm writing. So I create a Spotify playlist. They're always private playlist until I publish the book. So I create this playlist that has like maybe 100 songs per each book that give me the mood or tell about the character or something that just fit the book. And then once I publish the book, I actually share the top 30 of those 100 songs. So I pick the songs that fit the story the most or the characters the most and share it with the public. I create those playlists and it helps me to get in the mood of writing or understand the characters because each one of my main characters, they have a theme song in my head. They have a song that tells so much about them. So if I'm having a tough time writing, I just listen to that song on repeat a few times and I get into the mindset of that one character. And then I just start writing, like I said, not in order. Well, sometimes it depends, but I just start writing. And my first draft for full length novels, it usually takes me about 2 or 3 months. But like I said earlier, some of my books have taken longer. And then I wrote one novella that was so easy. The first draft, I wrote it that in like a month. It was 32,000 words. Yeah, I wrote that in 1 month. So if you think that 3 months, 90,000 words, usually my full lengths are 75,000 words around. So yeah, it depends. And yeah, then I have a different editing process than many authors do. So basically, I do my first edit myself. Then I send the first edit to Anna, my editor. She reads it one time or twice. I don't know about her process, but yeah, she comments on it. Then I go back to those comments and I add stuff based on them and fix things. And then I send them to her again. So I know we often talk about how you have different types of editors and editing processes, but we just have this where it's all combined, and Anna looks at the story as whole. So she looks at my grammar, the storyline, plot holes, everything. So it's not like separated by certain types of editing, I guess. So yeah, so once Anna has edited or left me comments, she doesn't do the editing, she just left the comments. I edit it once more and then I send it to my beta readers. I have a few beta readers. One of them is actually paid. I want to bring this idea to this podcast because I don't hear about it much. But there's actually paid beta readers. So they are what I consider between a typical beta reader who usually does it for free or some kind of, it depends what the author and beta reader come up with. It's always like there is not one rule how authors should compensate. But yeah, there's paid beta readers that are, in my opinion, between a like basic beta reader, if I can call it that, an editor. So they take a deeper dive into your story, but they're not at the editor level. And I use one of these services. Her name is Melanie. Made Me Blush Books on Instagram. Melanie, she is amazing. So what she does as my paid beta reader, she reads the document and leaves like chapter by chapter comments and like things she enjoyed, things that I could maybe improve, and just giving the general feedback. And then my other beta readers, they kind of check how they feel about the book and leave some comments, but not as it's more like on I don't want to call it basic because they do this for me, but you know what I mean. Like
Yes.
Melanie does it differently.
Yeah, I understand. When you have like a financial relationship and maybe even a contract between you two, it's just everybody knows what they need to do and they know that they need to deliver. I think with like the not the free beta, the voluntary beta readers, it's a little bit different. Like they do give you feedback, but it's more like free form unless you tell them exactly what you want. But then the more requirements you put on them, the more it becomes like a business relationship.
Yeah, definitely. And I think each author needs to talk with their beta readers and come up with their ways of working. It's never the same. So I have beta readers, and after that, I do some final edits, and then I send it to my proofreader.
All right.
And then that's done with the manuscript. And then I think it's good to remember that as an indie author, your work doesn't end when you finish the draft, when you have the finalized draft or the manuscript. It actually continues. You have to think about marketing, you have to think about arcs, the advanced reader copies. Then you have to think about the formatting, cover if you don't have it already, and it's just so much work after you finish the manuscript. I often say the manuscript part is the easiest part, or like finishing it, getting it together is the easiest part. Everything that comes after, it's more difficult, at least for me.
Okay. Well, I still have a question about the before part, which is, well, you did mention that you're a plotter. So when you're writing your first draft, it's already kind of structurally sound, just because you know what happens and what order it happens in. But like in your first edit, when you just like wrote the first draft and you do the edits, actually, how many changes happen there? Is it like you're just playing with sentences, or you're like adding characters and stuff?
A lot, a lot. So actually, even I plot, I give myself this like space for adding things. So I usually like from my first plot outline to my first end of first draft. Usually I add 1 or 2 chapters. I change things around. I delete ideas. I give my story space to grow, like in a way, but at the same time, I have the plot outline to help me if I get stuck or I don't know where to go next. So it's very like important to have the outline, but it's not like I follow it 100%.
Exactly. It's nice. Like I think now, currently, I'm in outlining stage, and it's very hard to get away from the idea of that I have to like plot it out now and know everything now, so that it's easier to write the first draft, and it just paralyzes you. Like, wow.
Yeah, I know. You just have to give yourself that space to go outside the outline.
Yeah, yeah.
Because some of my favorite chapters in my books, they were never in the first plot outline. Like I can name one scene in each one of my books that just came to me while writing, and I added it, and it's one of my favorites.
Oh, nice. Because yesterday I literally spent like half an hour looking at a like a outlining page that I printed, and there were like three scenes that are supposed to be there. And I don't know what goes there, and I'm like, what do I do? I don't know what to do.
It can be tough because once I actually start writing the outline, I usually have thought about the story so much that I know what happens in the first idea of the story, of course, because it always changes. Like I mentioned my first ever draft for my debut audio tomorrow. If you would compare that to the final product, is so different because I changed many things from comments from my beta readers and Anna and such. But I'm happy how it turned out. Even if I would edit some things in all of my books, especially my latest, I would write a bit different if I was writing it now. I still think that they're good, and it's good to have them out in the world. And I'm proud of myself for finishing them and doing it, because not everyone does it.
Of course, very,
Many
very few people.
dream, yeah,
Yes.
many dream about becoming an author, but they get stuck being writers. What it means that they never publish their work. But there's nothing wrong being a writer. I often, during this year when I haven't been writing much, I've been considering, like, do I want to continue this? Is it something I want to do in the future? Do I want to publish my stories, or do I just want to write them for myself? Do I want to be an author or writer? But I have decided to keep going, because there is many stories I want to share with the world, and I want to give some of my side characters from my books. I want to give their happily ever afters as
Of
well.
course.
I do that a lot. I do, like, is it called foreshadowing? Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that,
foreshadowing.
yeah. So the author, like, gives hints. I do that so much with my books.
Yeah, I love when that happens in books. It's amazing.
Yes, it's sometimes very like very small or subtle. You can't, like, tell it, but then sometimes it's so in your face. What I mean, like, it's so obvious who is going to get books. Like, if you read my latest, From Helsinki with Love, there's so many side characters mentioned, and yeah, there's a few stories there you can tell. Like,
So Jasper's sisters will get some stories. No?
at least his youngest sister. So yeah, Jasper has two younger sisters. I have a story ideas for both, but his younger sister, yeah, there's a story, and it's actually, well, I have my current work in progress. Then I have one hockey romance that gets mentioned a bit, maybe in From Helsinki with Love, but then I will write Jasper's sister's book, so it will be my third in my list of books I want to write.
Nice to have a whole queue of ideas.
Yeah, so you asked about my writing process. I actually have this thing I call book master file, and what it means that I, like, have this Excel that has all the information about my main characters, side characters, names I want to use, all the foods I mention, songs, places, every single detail. It's a big Excel file. But it also has my future story ideas. If I have now published 4 books and writing my 5th, there is 15 other story ideas left that I want to write.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
So I have all these book ideas, and I sometimes combine 2 ideas. So what usually happens, I first pick the 2 main characters and then give them some storyline. But then if I have too many storylines, I just combine them together and make 2 stories become one. And I often, like, combine ideas and change ideas. But yeah, I have planned my next 15 stories, their main characters and tropes and such.
Amazing. So you have like a whole universe described in that
Yeah,
Excel
yeah.
file.
All my books are linked. All my books are linked to each other. They all share their universe. Like, you can tell, like, if you have read all my books and remember some details. In From Helsinki with Love, it was my first hockey romance. It has some side characters that are mentioned in All Your Tomorrows and All Your Memories.
Okay.
And the side character from those books is the person who will get book 6. So yeah, book 5 is, like, the third book and the last book in my first series. But yeah, after that, I will write another hockey romance for a side character from those books.
Wow. Amazing. Okay. Another thing I think I wanted to ask you about your process is so if you're saying that it takes you a couple of months to write the first draft, can you just walk me through like how your writing day looks like? Like when do you write? How many? Do you have a plan? Stuff like that.
So I basically write whenever I feel like it. It's bad. I'm actually trying to. So yeah, I got diagnosed with ADHD 2 years ago. So 1 year into my writing journey, and I'm 32, so I was 30 when I got diagnosed, and it has been a learning curve to learn how to manage my time and like do things that are not that simple because of my ADHD brain. And one of those things is creating a schedule, a writing schedule. But at the same time, I'm not a big fan of routine. I'm not a big fan of schedules. I go with the flow when it comes to like everyday life. But like I said, bigger events and my books I plan, but not like everyday life. That well, at least I should. That's a thing I'm working on. So yeah, I don't have an example of working day or what it's like, but I usually, if I start writing, I usually write for a few hours. So I usually finish a scene or even a chapter. It depends. I'm quite a slow writer because, well, it's pretty obvious, but English isn't my first language. So even I'm fluent, it still takes me time. I would say I write a few hours, 2, 3 hours when I start writing. Sometimes I write 5 hours. It just depends. But I mostly, well, now I'm between uh, work assignments, so I have all this free time. So I should be writing now during day, but I haven't been writing much. I'm actually replotting my fifth book because I think the first plot isn't exactly what I want for the characters. But yeah, once I start writing it, let's see how long it takes until I start work again. But once I do basic 9 to 5 job, then I will write in the evenings. But now that I finished my studies, it gives me so much more free time because it's no wonder I got burnout. Because if you think about it, when I last year when I was writing, I wrote and published 3 books. I was also working full time. I was studying almost full time and writing.
Were you sleeping any time
Yeah,
as
I
well?
did sleep. That's the thing. I don't know how. I do thank my ADHD brain, but at the same time, I think it's what led me to the burnout because I took too much. But now that I don't study anymore, that I'm done finally, uh, I can take that time and put into my books once the inspiration comes. Well, it has been coming lately, like the past week and, well, 2 weeks. I have been like replotting my book, and I plan to start writing the new version next week.
Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah, you do write. I also write in the evenings because I would love to wake up at 6 a.m. and write. I can wake up at 6 a.m., but it will take me an hour just to mentally prepare to write. So
I'm not a morning person at all. Like no, not
yeah,
happening.
it's
Yeah,
not working.
it's already a struggle to get to work at 9. Whenever I work, that sounded like I don't work much. I do, but I'm just between the assignments right now. But yeah, so yeah, evenings are my thing. Weekends.
Yeah,
So
evenings
what
are
I
nice.
do, I put my playlist on, make some mint tea or some other tea. Mint tea is my favorite, so that's why I mention it even in my author bio. I put music on, have tea, and start writing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
something like that as well. Especially before bed, for some reason, when I'm very tired, I get creative suddenly. Like,
yeah. I that's why. So I use the program Scrivener. How to
hmm
pronounce it? Yeah,
Scrivener.
Scrivener.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
Scrivener. I have it both on my phone and my laptop. You can like synchronize those. Like
Okay, I have
they can
not
be
tried
in
that
sync.
yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you can get them in sync, and then when I'm tired but I get some ideas, I go on my phone and write on my phone. and then I synchronize it with the file or the.
Mm-hmm.
It's like through Dropbox, I think,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah, that would be something to try,
yeah,
actually.
it's very good. I
Mm-hmm.
think because I know many authors who write in their notes
Yeah,
and then
I do.
they just copy and paste when they get to their laptop if it's easier that way. But yeah, to me it has worked that I have the app on my phone and laptop.
Yeah, actually, it sounds good because I like to write in my notes because it's very easy. You just open a note, but I have a collection of very very long notes because I keep adding to them, and my phone is fine with it, but my Mac cannot synchronize them for some reason. It just breaks and like nothing works. So yeah, that needs to be fixed in any case. Well, now I think we touched on the topic already a little bit, and this is something that you wanted to talk about and I wanted to talk about since we have something in common. And this is writing in English as a second language. Yeah, let's uncover that because it's a bit scary to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. And so I never considered it as an issue before someone pointed it out. And it sucks
Yeah, that must
that
have hurt.
it sucks. Like with my fourth book, I got it more than with my previous books, which is weird because it's my fourth book.
Mm-hmm.
But I like when I get comments like you need an editor or like just edit this more or go back to someone who's is a native speaker. It hurts because I have an editor who does an amazing job, and often it's people just don't like my writing style in the end. It's not about the editing or such. It's just that my writing style is not for them, and that's okay. But yeah, I got that comment in more reviews than I liked for my fourth book. This is the downside of reading those reviews because it hurt. But then at the same time, not many do that. Not many write and publish books in their second language. So about my background, I have actually lived abroad in English-speaking countries for 6 years. I was first an exchange student in the US when I was in high school. So I spent a year in Nebraska, in small town, USA, in the middle
Mm-hmm.
of cornfields. Like I said earlier, I'm from Helsinki, the capital of Finland. So I'm a city girl. But then I was put in the town of less than 1,000 people. Yeah, it was a good experience. Um, Not only because I got to experience the American culture, most of my books are based in US. So it's good that I understand their culture and I know about Americans enough to write about Americans, American characters. And well, of course, actually, my proofreader, she double checks that my characters feel like Americans. She's American herself, Katie, and she makes sure that my stories sound American because I spent 5 years living in the UK, in England. So I sometimes write British English, even my books are in American English.
Mm-hmm.
I can usually switch between those two because I have lived in both countries, but then sometimes it just some words escape to the pages of my books. But yeah, so yeah, I have lived in English-speaking countries for 6 years, which improved my English so much because I couldn't even hold a 2-minute conversation when I moved to US when I was 17.
Okay.
I couldn't even do that. I My English was poor. I would say not poor. It's a bad word to describe it. But yeah. Anyway, I learned my basics or like the basic conversation and such. I learned that when I lived in the US, and then when I lived in England for 5 years, I improved. And like I mentioned earlier, that I like my first book was my first fiction that I ever wrote, like over 10 pages. So I was used to writing more academic,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my issue to like I was used to writing academic, and I had to I have to find that my voice and such. But yeah, it has been hard to get the feedback, the negative feedback at times, but still I think we are amazing because we are doing something that not many do.
Yeah.
I know a few non-native English speakers who are publishing in English, but there's not that many. It's a small group that I know. Of course, there must be more, but I know 3 other Finnish authors who write in English, and then a few other Europeans, and that's it, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I would say the same. So I have some writer friends on Instagram who are non-native speakers. I probably know some authors, but I can't remember anyone at the moment. My writing group here in Belgium, none of them are natives either.
It's
So
cool that you have a group. Do you meet often, or is it like online or?
So I met them. There is this behind me Wordcraft collective. It's sort of like it's kind of a gathering of writers in Belgium who write in English, and there I found people who took the short story writing course from the person who's in the head of the collective, and basically I just joined the group like because I wanted to try. Why not? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're all either Belgians or immigrants who regularly use English for work, like and other purposes. So yeah, we meet every 2 weeks, and it's incredibly helpful. I didn't expect that I would need it, and I thought I could be okay just online. But honestly, it's been amazing to get live feedback and to read other people's stuff. I now know when I'm getting submissions from people like, oh, I know who wrote this and it's so nice. And I know the story already a little, so I can like make connections. It's really, really nice, honestly. None of them are romance writers, actually. It's only me. It's only me. So other people write well, I wouldn't say they write in a genre. They just like to write stories that they want to write. So yeah, it's always fun. So yeah, I think that's basically all I know about like the second language writing. I don't know many. And you're not only writing in a second language, you're also publishing books in Europe as well, right? Like or you're I'm not really sure about the like specifics of publishing on Amazon when you're not in the US.
Yes. So luckily, uh, I can't say that you can publish anywhere in the world, but in many countries, you can publish through Amazon. And all my books are on Amazon, and they're only there. Well, there is. I will continue this later. But yeah, they are like basically there. And it was super simple to, as a European, to create an account for KDP, so Kindle Direct Publishing. That's the platform that Amazon uses. So it was super easy, and because I think Finland and USA, they have some tax treaty between them. I don't have to pay tax to US or to Amazon. It's like you have to give your tax information and it fixes it. So yeah, I don't have to worry about that. I only pay taxes in Finland. And of course, when Amazon, whichever site they use, when they sell those books, they add the local tax on top of that. So my books are sold on Amazon, and they can be found on different Amazon sites. So they are not only in the US site, even if most of my readers are based in US or use the Amazon US. But it's also because not uh, many people don't understand this or don't notice that Amazon doesn't have local sites like for every country. We don't have a local site for Finland. My closest site is in Germany, so a few countries
Ah,
over.
same.
Yeah, yeah. So it has been hard to get proof copies because for a while they didn't want to send them to Finland, and but then I tried again and again, and then it worked. It has been hard to get proof copies before. Now they fixed or changed the system a bit, so it's much easier now you have to like set up the paperback release date and then order the proof, and it's so much easier for them to send that proof than the previous proof. I don't know why. Anyway, so yeah, my books can be found on all the Amazon sites. I think it was easy to set up. Sure, there has been some issues that I have with KDP, but they have come later. The setup itself was easy for me.
Yeah, I can attest your books are available because my default so I can only buy ebooks from one of the Amazon websites. So
They changed that, but yeah.
yeah, the German one doesn't allow me to do it, only the French one. So I use the French one and I can find your books just okay. And I think, I mean, yeah, due to Amazon, I mean, as much as we can discuss how bad it is, right? It still allows a lot of people to do things for practically free and to share the books like around the world.
Yeah, it's too easy in a way that we don't consider many other options.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
even if many of us do this for our love for books, reading, writing, romance, whatever your reason is, we of course want to get money back. We want to get back that what we have spent and more. Some want to make this into their careers. So yeah, of course we want money. So we have to be where the readers are. And unfortunately, that's on Amazon right now.
Yeah.
It's a shame. But this brings me to the point that I was going to say earlier. But I said my books are only on Amazon, but that's not right. Because there is this thing called extended distribution. Oh, I can't pronounce that word. Sorry. But yeah, extended. So Amazon works together with many online stores. So if you choose that option, your books can be found in these other shops online. And I chose that. Even authors make like pennies from that. That's not, you don't get that much money out of it. I chose it because it actually brings my books to the biggest online bookseller in Finland.
Ah, in
So
Finland even.
yes,
Okay.
so Amazon has like these companies or booksellers, online booksellers that around the world that they work with. So one of them is this. I think they're from Sweden originally, but it's called Adlibris, and or Adlibris, yeah, and it's the biggest online bookseller in Finland these days, and you can find my books on their website.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I did that the extended distribution for that reason. So my Finnish readers, they can get paperbacks from the Finnish site if they like. Or I often actually, if I talk with my Finnish readers, I have few, not many, but a few. If I talk with them and they are like, oh, where can I buy a book? I actually offer to like send them a copy because I have many author copies behind there. I offer to send them a copy, a signed copy, for a little money, like because authors get their copies for discounted price. You only have to consider the printing cost. So I have many copies of each of my books, and I send them to my Finnish readers every now and then. I think I have sent maybe 4 or 5 books this year.
Yeah, this is what actually I was going to say about publishing. I mean, we have great opportunities of publishing worldwide through Amazon, but these, kind of perks that people in the US get, which is the PR boxes and fancy swag and like stuff like that. This is what we're unfortunately missing out on. Not just getting them, but also sending them. It's very expensive.
Yeah. And signed copies, if I would send it to US, it would cost me so much that there's no point. And yeah, it's one of those things that suck because the market is in the US or North America. Of course, we have UK here in Europe, but the market isn't that big or isn't the same size. And it's interesting. I don't know if you have ever checked the top 100 list on Amazon UK versus Amazon US. The books are very different. Most of the romance books that make it to top 100 in the US, Amazon US, they don't make it to Amazon UK list.
Interesting.
They have different taste, different kind of books that they read. Those two shops are different in a way.
I think looking at the covers, they are very different. Even like the UK has specific type of covers that they like.
Yeah, and then there is of course German market and Italian market and French market and Spanish market here in Europe, but not many indie romance authors who write in English make it to those markets. Sure, there are some examples I could give, but like it's different. So our like main markets are US, Canada, UK, Australia maybe.
Now that you mentioned Germany, I think it's one of my dreams to have my book translated into German and have a German cover design. Have you seen German editions?
Yeah, they are they they are often like pastel colors and flowers, and
They make them so beautiful.
they
Like,
look so dreamy. They look like they're from a story themselves.
yeah, I have a friend on Instagram who lives in Austria, and she always showcases these kinds of covers and stuff. And I'm just so happy looking at them.
I'm actually traveling to Germany in December.
Oh, that's nice.
Actually, the day this podcast comes out, I'm on my way back home. But anyway, I'm going to see one of my book friends. Well, now real friends. Well, I'm not saying book friends are not real friends, but you know
I
what?
get it. I get it.
Yeah, we met on Bookstagram. We are both writers, so we clicked, and now we are meeting soon. They actually work at the bookshop, so I will have a chance to see those German covers more closely when I visit their workplace.
You should bring some of your books there and just, I don't know, sign some copies for people who would want to buy.
It's actually much harder than that. It's
Yeah.
a process to get your books into bookstore. I'm not doing that. As an indie author, you have to pick your battles. So you have to choose what you want to put your efforts into and your energy into. And of course, I want to make money out of this and get at least back what I have spent on my books. But next to that, I don't have big goals in my author life, just small things. And that's why I don't like do things that many other authors do, try to get my books into bookstores or such.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, so as I mentioned, my friend from Austria, she actually asked you a question, and I think it fits perfectly into what we were talking about. Her name is Bobby, and she wanted to ask what are the tips for supporting European authors. Basically, she knows a lot of European authors that are starting out, and she just thinks that they could help, like the readers. What are the ways that the readers could help and make us European authors more visible?
So I think it's the same rules go with every author, like share the work, read their work, mention them on social media, make sure you read their work, because often readers, they talk about you or share your post, but then they don't read your work or review it. So it's important to actually read the works as well. And that was a good question, but I don't have any like special tips. Same with every indie author: share, comment, read, review.
Yeah, I think it's important to highlight. And also, I asked her a question in return as well, just like what does she find interesting and special about the books from European authors? And we talked about it for a while, and basically, I agree with her. So it's not bad to write books set in America with only American characters, but there's a lot of them, and so having a diversity there in like a different type of diversity in terms of nationalities, languages. And we were laughing a bit because when you have a book set in Europe, it's usually Paris or Italy or something like that.
Yeah, definitely in those typical tourist destinations in Europe. Yeah,
and
definitely.
it's always like an American going there and meeting a guy from the culture, right? It's I love the scenario. I love it. But
Me too. That's the thing. So my first three books, all the main characters are American. Sure, there is some like different backgrounds and such. But yeah, they're all Americans. But then my fourth book, I have my Finnish hockey hunk Jasper, and there will be two other books in that series, and all those hockey players, they're European, and the women are they all American? Yeah, they're all American. So, but they actually all met in the US. So, From Helsinki with Love, my latest book, this one right here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was actually my love letter to my home country, Finland, and Helsinki. I'm from Helsinki, so like some readers have said it's like reading a like travel guide with some romance, and I agree. I would change a few conversations a bit, remove some Finland facts now, but I wrote this to myself. That's the thing. It's my it has the lowest rating of my books because, well, I wrote it for myself. I think it didn't like maybe resonate with many readers. Well, it does have many readers who enjoyed it as well, but like it was just for me. And of course, I got feedback from my editor, beta readers, proofreader. So I did change some things, but at, in the end, it was my passion project for myself.
No, but honestly, why is that bad? Like it's your right to publish. It's also people's right to put their reviews and say what they didn't like. But since you know it was for you, then you can read the reviews and say, okay, yeah, well, sure. That wasn't my point, but yeah, okay. I am now in the middle of it, actually. I think I've read about 50%. And yeah, the romance is low angst. It's cute. It's nice.
And a very low angst. I needed that after my second book. So my second book took so much out of me. It has some very heavy themes. Like all my books deal with some heavier issues, usually with humor or like there's light moments. But my second book was heavier than my other books. And after that, I wrote the novella to try to. It was very light novella as well, fluffy and like fun and summer vibes, and I tried to get rid of that second book angst or that, and it didn't help. So yeah, this fourth book, it was supposed to be more angst, but I was like, I can't do that right now. So let's do this very low angst, very cute. They get along from the first time they meet. She is just happy. He has some issues, but they affect his life less than you would expect maybe from the beginning. But there is still some heavier moments that are coming if you are halfway through. But it's still no third act breakup book. It's still very like light.
Yeah, yeah. I can feel that. I can feel that it's light, and I already told my husband I want to go to Helsinki, and if we're going, I'm taking this book and I'm like following everything.
The thing is that the Finnish summer or summer in Helsinki is my favorite season. But if you want all the what happens in that book or like the winter wonderland, then you have to come like end of December, early January, because like most of the years we have snow in December, but there has been a few years lately that we get snow just before Christmas or after Christmas even. I experienced my first non-white Christmas a few years ago, and that was bad.
Yeah, global
Yeah,
warming is
yeah,
doing it.
definitely. Anyway, so I do have these European characters coming in and some side characters, and I'm trying to write more like non-American characters, but it's just way easier to write about a culture or people you know,
Of
because I have
course.
so many American friends. I still have my host family in Nebraska. I keep in touch with them, and it's just easier for me because I understand them, even
Of
they are
course.
not the same culture than me, or from the same culture. I still understand them, and it's much easier. It takes so much time to research if you write a character from culture that you haven't spent much time on or don't have friends. Like my next two in this series, they are Swedish and German characters. And I can write those because I used to work with Swedish people. I have been in Sweden so many times. I have Swedish friends. It's there's some similarities to Finnish culture, even it's still its own. And then same with German. I have that many German friends, and I can have a beta reader who is German and such. So yeah, that's why I feel comfortable writing those characters. That's another thing we have to consider as an authors or writers. We have to, like, if we write outside our cultures or our race or ethnicity in general, or outside our experiences, we have to, like, make sure we do it right. We have to have beta reader or sensitivity readers, and we have to make sure that we don't offend anyone with our writing.
That's a little scary to me because like I can say it's easier for American writers in one point for sure, because they can always write about American characters and they'll be dandy. But us, like, I cannot always write Russian or Belarusian characters. What the hell is that going to be? You cannot always write about Finnish people. So we have to kind of choose. And with my, like, the book that I'm writing now, it's going to be a hell to find so many people because I'm like, I want to have a diverse cast. So I have like a Macedonian person, I have a French person, I have an Italian person. Since I do have friends among all those cultures, so I'm going to ask them to look and then to read. But it's a lot.
Yeah, this is the question Anna, my editor, asked me. Why are they those cultures? Why do they need to be that? Because I had ideas for creating, like, this Swedish character that I'm having in my book 6. He was supposed to be like Swedish Japanese, a mix, or like many, like biracial. But then Anna was like, why? Why can you explain why? Like, if you can explain it well, okay, then you can, but don't make your characters diverse just because you have to, or you feel like you have to. That's the thing.
Yeah, the thing is, it's. I think it might be also easier for Americans because they can always fall back on just having an American character. For me, it's like I really don't have a choice. All my friends come from everywhere, so I try not to maybe have a fully like German cast or fully. My husband is Syrian. I can write a full book about Syrian characters, but like, why? What? Let's have a different sort of. And it's not because I want to write like a Italian character because I want to use a stereotype and make him dramatic as hell or something like that. No, it's just because I don't know. I have Italian friends and I would like to just use
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's a good, like, to me that's a good enough reason, but I know some people will ask you why.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the thing.
obviously.
And this is also why I don't have plan. Well, now that I'm saying it, actually my next main character is queer, but like, I won't write much queer characters because I'm not queer myself, and I feel like I can't express them in a level that you should in a book. But maybe I can have a sensitivity reader. But yeah, my next main character, the male character, is actually bisexual. So now that I said it, oops, going back to my, like, there's always that one exception that proves the rule of what they say. Yeah, anyway, I try to write characters that I feel comfortable writing. Even if it's not the
Exactly.
best way, because of course it would improve me as a writer if I would dive into something tougher. But you have to also think, if you publish, you have to think the audience, and you have to think your reasons very well before you do that,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I have a feeling that I might have an issue with specifically American readers because their perception of other cultures is a little different from our perception of other cultures.
That's why us Europeans should, like, read each other's more.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah, because I've seen American people be offended about something that the person from that culture wouldn't be offended by.
yeah, definitely. It's always tricky
Yeah.
to, like, write in English, where your biggest market is the US and then write something they're not used to.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
common for them. Like, I love reading books around the world, and I do, with characters from different cultures and such. But like, not many readers feel like they have to do that. They want the
Exactly.
comfortable, they want the things they know. Or if they read, like, many hockey romances have Russian or Swedish male characters or hockey players, and those are, like, I guess readers are used to them because there's so many,
Yeah.
so it's easier for them to. And not often, but sometimes those books do follow the stereotypes. But I do like that many authors are putting more effort into not making so that stereotypes are running wild.
Yeah, I understand. Well, since we're running over an hour
Oh,
already, I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice. It's great, but I do have one question that I ask everybody, and it's like a standard here already. So, could you tell me what is the best and or the worst writing advice that you?
yes. So I have my top three things that I wish I knew when I started, before I published my books. These advices are for writers who want to publish mostly. So the first one I mentioned earlier: don't compare yourself to others. It's the biggest. It's in everything you do in life, but in being an indie author, it's even bigger because you see these authors who have thousands, hundreds of thousands of fans. Every release goes to top 10, if not top 1 on Amazon list. You see these authors who make so much money and have so much fame, and you think, oh, I want that, I need that. But then when you start, it's not that simple. It's only a small portion of authors who ever reach that kind of fame or that kind of level of recognition.
Mhm.
So that brings me to the second: lower your expectations. I know these are not the nicest, but these are the real tips. I assumed that people would read my books more, I would get more money and such, but it hasn't happened. I have published 4 books, and my latest has been out for 9 months, and it's just making back what I spend on it. Like, I think there's like missing maybe $50 or $100, so I will make that by end of the year. But I know my next 3 books won't make as much money unless I go viral or something happens. But yeah, it's good to lower those expectations. And then third one: if you plan to publish, write at least 2 or 3 books ready. Get 2 or 3 books ready, because right now, I started, like, I published my work as I finished it, but now I will have almost a year and a half between my releases because my next book isn't coming until like late spring next year. But if I would have had like those, like 2 or 3 ready books to go, I could have planned it better, and now I wouldn't be writing against the clock, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I don't write to get something out. I would write because I want to. It brings stress. So yeah, if I would do it again, I would have my first series written completely before I even publish my first book ever. So yeah,
Okay.
those are my 3 tips. They're not the nicest, but they're real.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's good to be realistic, honestly, because when you set your expectations too high, then you fall so hard.
yeah, it's so bad.
Yeah.
It has been hard, but that happens.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. And well, before we wrap it up, can you? You have already recommended, I think, Romancing the Bee. Yes. Do you have any other recommendations of books or shows or podcasts, whatever?
Wow, that's a good question because I have all of them on my Kindle app and I don't actually remember the names, but let me check. Because like it's sometimes hard to come up with words to describe certain moment. So I like those kind of dictionaries that list like all the different ways to describe a body part or something,
Okay.
or like verbs that help you write better. There is this one series that I absolutely like, book series. It's from Valerie Howard. It's called Character Reactions from Head to Toe. Well, it's 1,000 character reactions from head to toe. And then
Okay.
she has, or they have, sorry, I can't assume, they have 100 strong verbs and, no, 1,000 strong verbs and 1,000 helpful adjectives for fiction
Nice.
writers. So those help me a lot because you can't always say he says, he looks, he walks. You
Yeah.
want to say he whispers, he shouts, he strolls, he runs. Or you want to mix it up, and those are very good basic books for, especially for us who write in our second language, because we
Yes.
don't always come up with the right words, right?
Exactly. When I read, I know all the words, but when I
Oh yeah,
write, they
exactly.
hide from me somewhere.
That happens. And then there is this Kiira Bristol. Kiira is Cara Bristol. They have this book called Naughty Words for Nice Writers. So it's a
Okay.
romance novel dictionary type of thing. So it has like long list of every body part, like how to describe. Like I think it has for your buttocks. So yeah, it has like so many words for that, and like women body parts, and you know what I mean. It's like very good for that. So those
Okay.
are what I recommend, those kind of dictionaries for writers.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, where can the listeners find you? What are your handles and everything else?
So, like I have mentioned, my books are on Amazon. I'm also part of the Kindle Unlimited. So, if you have to that, you can read my books through there. And then on Instagram and TikTok, it's KH Anastasia Writes, if I'm not mistaken. Now I'm starting like think, is that my handle? Yeah, it's my
I'm
handle.
gonna check. I'm gonna check.
Yeah, it is KH Anastasia Writes. And I'm working on my website, so I don't have that right now. But once I do, it's just khanastasia.com. Or
Nice.
Arthur KH Anastasia. Oh, I shouldn't mention it here. Okay, let's forget that. So yeah, that's where I can be found. Instagram and TikTok.
All right.
Instagram is better. I check it more often. I should get more active on TikTok again, but it's so much work to
I
have
know.
2 different social media sites or apps. And the issue is that this is one thing I want to mention for non-American writers. Many of my author friends from other countries have noticed that because we are based on one country, the algorithm doesn't work for us that well. So the US authors, they get better views, or like they have that advance because the TikTok app thinks I'm in, well, they know I'm in Helsinki, so they think that my audience should be in Finland as well. Of course, it makes across borders with hashtags and followers who like, and then their followers see it. But yeah, it's like whenever I post about my latest book, the one that is happening in Finland, whenever I post that, most likes are from Finnish people who don't read.
Amazing.
So
Yeah. It keeps sending me notifications about lives that's happening in French in Belgium. Like, I would never watch that. Why would you? Yeah. Anyway, so thank you so much for this conversation. It was amazing. And thank you for coming, and have a great rest of your day.
yeah, thank you so much. I hope what I said made some sense and helped at least one person.
Made all the
But
sense.
my DMs are open. You can always ask me. Like, I have helped many authors with KDP and setup and different things. So yeah, I can always help.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks. Bye. If you like what you hear so far, please consider subscribing and tune in for the next episode. If you have burning questions about writing you'd like to have answered, head to my Instagram page at kkalbabooks and leave me a message. Or use my email k.k.alba.books@gmail.com. If you'd like your favorite author to answer your question on my show, again, head to my Instagram or email me to let me know which author you'd like me to invite, and I'll try to get over my anxiety and do it. On the other hand, if you're an author who's published at least one book, traditional or indie, and you'd like to become a guest, well, you know what to do by now. Message me and let's get to know each other.